Good afternoon, everybody. I think if I use the microphone, it will be better. Okay. I will make sure to try to hold it in place the whole time. If I fail, please let me know. Okay, so my journey is what Kurt asked me to talk about today, and I think it's a wonderful topic because I've never actually talked about how I went from academia to freelance. And it was a bit of a trip down memory lane for me, and I remember all the anxious moments, but also the joy of going freelance, and that's what I want to share with you, are the steps that I took. So I was full-time tenured at Roosevelt University from 2000 to, I think it was 2015, and then the last year I was adjunct as I was making the transition. And somewhere around 2012, I came across my 1995 graduate school essay for doctoral programs. I don't know if you still have to write these or not. Do you? Do you still have to say why, your personal statement about why you want to go to the school? Okay, because I heard from someone that maybe they didn't have to well, anyway, the point of the matter is back then I had to write this essay. And I was all gung-ho and trying to show just how much I wanted to achieve in my life. And I wrote it as if I were 42 years old, looking back at my long and illustrious career. And it all began because I went to that university, you know? So it was a way to just show how inspired I was by what I wanted to do. And if you read it, you can see I was a complete overachiever because I was, at that time, I was saying at 42, I'd be a full professor of composition at a distinguished university, composer in residence with a major orchestra. I had a musical that was going to open in New York. I was in charge of programming a new music series in San Francisco. I was making sure I hit both coasts so they could see I was across the country. You know, and then I also had like an experimental improvisation troupe, and that was going to be videotaped. Wow, you know. I did not see streaming coming, obviously. But you can see I was really saying everything that I thought I would do, and then I go into the body of the email about all my previous schools and my experiences. But then I say at the bottom, I went even further and said that I want to be writing my first opera and collaborating with Kronos Quartet and the Oakland Modern Dance Company and basically staying engaged. So what happened is I read this in 2012. I had completely forgotten I'd written it. You know, it just got filed away, and I was trying to go through some file folders and clean out my office, and I came across this, and it was this moment of realization like, oh my God, what has happened? And I mean, I was teaching, I was happy with the teaching part. I absolutely loved working with students one-on-one. But slowly, over time, I experienced what is called mission creep. So if you don't know what mission creep is, you start with what is a mission statement. So let's say that you go to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Their goal is to play orchestra music, and it can be from any century, et cetera. Your mission statement can be as broad as you want it to be or as concise. And let's say that over time, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra starts programming choir works instead, just solo choir or just individual choir pieces. That would be mission creep in the extreme for an organization like that. But my point is that we can experience the same thing in our careers. So when I think about a mission statement and what that would be, I would have said when I was writing that essay that I wanted to be teaching full-time. I wanted to be in residence with orchestras, opera companies, and in summer programs, and I wanted to be getting a lot of commissions and working on a lot of things. What happened over time as the needs of Roosevelt University changed, I suddenly was not doing anything but teaching and serving on committees and juries. And that's fine if that's the life you want to choose. That isn't quite how my job began, but that's how it morphed to 15 years later or 12 years later. And that's what began for me to realize, what is it that I really want as a composer? And looking back at what I thought my mission statement was from that crazy essay from 1995, was I at all happy with where I am? And what do I need to do to have a course correction? So in 2016, when I finally decided, you know what, I need to have a course correction, I rewrote my mission statement, which was simply, I want to be a full-time freelance composer who tells dramatic stories through my music. And then over the years went along, once I left academia, I really did miss the teaching part, so I have been doing a lot of residencies with universities. I've taken on mentoring programs with different organizations around the country, so I do a lot of mentoring. And so that's where I added that to my, my mission statement, which is I'm a freelance composer, tell dramatic stories through my music, while also mentoring emerging composers of all ages to help them develop their careers. And the key word for me there is emerging, because I can't tell you how many times, you know, we've all seen it for composers. There is a fantastic opportunity, but you have to be under 25, under 30, under 35, under 40, and by the time you get a little older, it seems like every opportunity has been wiped off the surface for you, with the exception of some of the biggest ones. And what if you are a 50-year-old composer that hasn't had a chance to start composing much? Or you know, you're 60 in the same scenario. So that's why I'm helping to develop programs like the Her Voice competition for the Chicago a cappella choir. They brought me on early to formulate that, and I said we need to make sure it's emerging composers, not young composers. And we've worked really hard to define what emerging is, so that somebody isn't of a national status already and seeing it as a great opportunity to just get another performance. That is nice, and maybe Chicago a cappella will see that piece and want to program it on their series. But we want to help people that don't know quite how to get their careers started, and they have the talent, but they don't know what to do next. So that's how I have been thinking about emerging.